There. Hello. First order of business, clean my glasses. So, I have this chaplain. I primed him earlier in black because he wears almost all black. So this guy shouldn't be too much trouble. I should probably grab some brown somewhere. Need brown for that bag he's got. Maybe his book. But we're going to paint him up. He's a cool looking model. You can see the difference here. We updated his Crozius to be properly menacing. So, I'm just going to paint away there. See if we can knock him out. I already set his base up with a little bit of dirt and grass. Actually, pretty close to that picture. So that he'll also fit in the diorama. No matter where I place him, will kind of, at least his footfall will look somewhat appropriate. I gotta order more of these eye wipes. Eye wipes? Glasses wipes. They're pretty solid. Anyhow, let's see where this takes us. I'm wondering, I don't think I'm actually going to dry brush him at all. I think I will do a bunch of edge stuff by hand. But to start, at the very least, he has a bunch of white on him that I probably want to knock out. Maybe I'll start with the red. His staff, I'm going to do him pretty close to this. I don't know if I'm going to ultramarine him or not. I might do something a little different. On that one pauldron has nothing on it that I marveled over last night when I put them together. First time I've ever seen a pauldron with no texture on it. No teeth, no eyes, no tentacles, no nothing. And I think this is going to be a lot of tiny brush tonight. Maybe this, the gun and the staff, probably not. Question is, do I want to go red on the gun? Red looks pretty cool. I think I'll do it. I'll give this a little shake first. And we'll get right down to it. It's Mephiston red, because that's the red that I've got, which is kind of super red. So I'm going to end up washing that down quite a bit. So it's a bit grimmer and a bit darker. Maybe go something a little bigger to start. Yeah, that guy'll do. Fun model, though. Really cool looking. Lots of neat details, and then all of this cloak here. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep the cloak black. But, hold on. Sarah, door's closed. Thank you. I did flip my sign tonight. I was ready. Betrayed anyhow. And here we go. So Mephiston red is like Ronald McDonald red. It's like super duper red. Gotta be a little bit careful. Switch that guy right there. Had a pretty good day today. My parents and my sister were up. We had a nice lunch. Made a ham. See the little kids. Got to see the super tiny cat. I don't know if I showed you guys my new cat. Probably should. Probably more exciting than me painting. To be honest. Sneak behind there. Because everything is black, it's going to be a lot what I'm about to do now, which is hit that little corner. Let's clean that up. I mean, thankfully, the couple spots that I hit are getting metallics eventually, so not a big worry there. We do want to clean as we go. I have one more day tomorrow as part of my vacation. I might, especially if I get to do some building tonight, might end up doing my, what is it called? Fetid bloat drone? Got one of those lying around. Still got to build him. I'm guessing he's pretty simple to build. Hoping tomorrow I get a lot of painting time in. Get to do a whole thingamajig, and that guy, maybe I don't know if I can do A to Z, but it might take a couple sessions or a super long one. That would be nice to get in. Just sit here and paint all day. There we go. Looking dapper. Yeah, that skull's a big improvement. I basically just cut the old skull off, and then the backside of this guy, which I have tons of skulls. Still got probably about 300 of them. Excuse me. Just fit right on there very nicely. All right. So this guy I am going to go to tiny brush for. Just get some of this red off of my original brush. Everybody's having a good time out there tonight. Hopefully the stamina to go quite a ways tonight. I would like to get a lot, if not all of this done. My diorama awaits. I'm avoiding the eagle, but if I hit some other stuff, that's fine. This guy's going to get all kinds of metallic little bits. That grip thing I can probably leave as is. As careful as it can be. This super tiny brush may be on the way out too. This guy's seen a lot of duty. Beat the daylights out of this brush painting Mortarian every step of the way. Mortarian's just covered in so much texture. It's impossible to treat a brush nicely. I'm getting better at that though. Much better. So we'll be going back to Plague Marines pretty soon. I've got some new paints that I've never used showing up sometime in the near future, whenever they get here. I think they ship from Europe. A bunch of Army Painter stuff. Work on Plague Marines for a while. Just so I can test the paints using something that I actually have experience with, which is not a whole heck of a lot. There we go. Nice and gentle. Of course, he's got these cloth strips on him. I got to be careful of those. We're just gently getting in there with super tiny brush. It's okay if this is pretty dark. I'm not even sure I'm going to two-coat this because I think this gun is going to get a decent amount of wash over it as well. Gun after all. It doesn't need to be purely Ronald McDonald red. It's still more colorful than any of my Plague Marines at this point. It's like the most Mephiston red I've ever used. I do use it on their little clothy bits though. I shouldn't say that. Mr. Bughead's in New York. Yeah, I think I might have actually seen an update for it. I have this app that I think just straight up tracks my address and then fishes for what's on its way. New York's very close. It might only be a day or two out. Very close to New York. Shipping wise. I mean, big country like America wise, that is. am excited. Thank you again, Dane, for sending that boy my way. Handshakes. You know what? I'm gonna hit this thing under here too. I might just get it with a brown wash later. It's pretty nice to be back to small stuff. The Necrons I did, they were just Necron warriors, so they didn't have a crazy amount of detail on them. Just a little bit. Oh man, your hands are shaking. Oh, big stretch. It's been a day. You get a nap in, a pretty solid one though. So mentally, I'm all there. The endurance game is real. Muscles do get tired, but I don't know if I'm ever going to play with this guy, so the diorama dude. All right, give this guy a once over, see all the little spots that I'm still missing. Above that eagle. There you go. Right through the shakes. Paint like the noob I was born to be. I gotta get all around that guy there. I'm also realizing that like I don't drill out gun holes. Part of that is because with most of the models I've painted, I haven't needed to. There's no gun holes. Like plenty of most of my Plague Marines, I've done a lot of them, huge number of them. I've done melee, no gun holes there. And then I have a lot, 30 Poxwalkers, not a gun amongst them. Let's see what other little red bits we've got. I've got a little bit of seal action going. Right around that guy. Oh, that's nerve-wracking, but awesome. At least the details on these non-Death Guard things are raised up nicely. Oh yeah, I think we changed clocks today. Ugh, gross. Right, that book, I don't think I'm doing anything red on there. I don't think he has any other crazy red to him. Or if he does, I'll find it when I find it. Those strips. I think we're good. All right, I'll set you down, clean this brush up. This tiny brush is going to be putting in all the work today. Give him a little dab of mineral spirits because he's old. He's old and suffering. I have another one. I don't want to crack that new guy out just yet. Let this guy sit aside and soak. I do have some other somewhat smaller brushes that I can work with. Yeah, this guy's in good shape and good spirits. And by good shape, he's hooked. But I think he's just got, he's all right. He'll be all right. Close up my reds and spill it all over the place. And I'm going to change to, oh, that's dry. I think I'm going to use Iron Rack Skin for the scrolly stuff. I've got these two big banner scrolls, and then he's got the scroll on his holster. It's a dope holster. And Iron Rack Skin is like pretty interesting color. Definitely use it for skin, but it also is pretty close to like a old parchmenty. It's got the tiniest little bit of green in it, which you can use to basically get a little bit of free contrast if you're contrasting against green. And this model has some red spots on it, so that's kind of what I'm doing with it. And I may actually. I may use it as a base on that skull. So obviously that skull will get lightened up quite a bit afterwards. All right, in we go. No matter what, this parchment, this paper is going to need more than one run. Going over black, whitish over black. Like you can see right there, it's pretty thin. But a good start. Might have thinned this out a little too much, but a couple passes of thinned out paint is a lot better than one of thick, for sure. There we go. Just sneak in under his armpit, gentle as can be. Over. Still resisting the temptation to buy like every single color in existence. It's part of the reason I reached out to the army painters. I was like, I've got so much Citadel paint. I've got a decent small cohort of AK things. I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna buy more paint. I want to sort of like test a few first, a little bit. We're just going whole hog. Plus, it just takes a lot of space to store them. Like, I have paints all over the place on this desk right now. I've got a rack behind me, which, you know, if you've ever tuned in, pretty commonly I gotta run over and grab other paints. Just take up a lot of space. These strips are pretty nice. I mean, generally speaking, stuff is wrapped up decently. I've never received a model beat up, but like sometimes stuff does take a whooping. It's at least where I'm at, it tends to be relatively consistent and okay. But depending on where you are in the States, your mileage may vary. That'll be interesting to get to without getting my fingers on the other part. Yeah, I got to be super careful with this model being so much black. You don't get your finger stuck on something and then flip the thing over and see a big white fingerprint lying around. Brush back on there. There we go. Thankfully, a lot of the stuff on this model is very reachable. These strips would be totally a pain if there was a bunch of other stuff lying around on that model. Alrighty. Let's get the edges here. Should be in pretty good shape. The end of this brush is a little squirrely, but ho hum. There we go. Yeah, he's looking pretty good. Stretch that in there. Clean this brush off a bit. And we will go back to the super tiny brush, get a little bit more paint on this palette, and see about some of the bone work in there. I think I can base it mostly in wraith bone. Get the red off of this brush. Red is like married to it. Mephiston red. Strong stuff. Okay, that should be fine. I'll set you down for just 1 second, buddy. Wraith bone out. Oof. Stuff needs a proper mix. I might do the big flex and get one of those little things that shakes your paint for you. Desktop one. All right. So now, and I can pretty much just mostly hold them this way and turn them that way when I get to the other side of the skull. We can hit the skull on the Crozius. We can hit his breastplate. It's got that rib stuff in it. We can hit his adorable little face. All in one pass. Have a little bit of water in here, and it's okay if this takes more than one run. Once again, white on black, gotta be patient with. It's spicy. Here we go. Just taking our time with these bones. Not getting too scared. Get another pass of some form of white. They get highlighted a little more strongly in something maybe even as light as Corax, because there's not a lot of room to highlight up from Wraithbone. That was cool. I've got this skull on his kneecap. That we're being pretty gentle. It's fine if some paint gets into those eye holes, but it's a little better if it doesn't. A little bit easier to get the guy shaded up later. Yeah, everything pops out so much. Like those skulls, nice and raised on this thing. Very much like that. Used to much more shallow details. Nice and chunky. That's good. That skull, yeah, I'll do that skull as bone. Not sure if it's supposed to be, but it's there. I'm here. There we go. Almost dropped him. All right. Next, we'll do the face. I'm just going to clean this brush up a little bit because the tip, once you get to the face, you need that tip to be as sane as possible. Speaking of which, there's like one thread of this guy on the end that's unhappy. All right. Let's go do some danger work. Oh boy. Actually, take 1 second. Take a sip of tea, have a puff, just like loosen up a little bit. That arm, oh, it's crunchy. So something I just noticed in the picture, and I think it's actually cool, and I'm going to do it as well. They've got his cloak almost like slightly browned up, and I like that. So I may be going in there, putting a few early highlights, maybe with the dry brush, maybe not, and then going over it with some sort of brown wash. Interesting. All right, moment of truth. I'm shaking so much. I got the edge of the cloak. Keep the bolter tops black. Yeah, I may actually go over that with a reasonably dark metallic. We shall see. When I did it, I was like, well, I've got room to breathe there. Oh, skull face, skull face. All right, not the worst I've ever done by any stretch. Not a lot of paint to be working with. There we go. He looks Scully. Call that a victory. Skullface McGee. And then Crozius. Do the horns as legit horns. And think about what I want to actually do the face with. I'm going to give this tiny brush a break because I'm working on borrowed time with him. Go up to a slightly bigger one. This one's a 0. Boink. Get some actual paint on the brush. Have this Crozius take less than 40 minutes. Using a micro brush. The horns on this are actually pretty nicely textured, so whatever I wash this with will definitely be pronounced nicely. Yeah, it makes the most sense to actually go around this thing from the side. There we go. Very therapeutic. Go. Give him a little spin. The other side of him. Yeah, this skull is way more metal than that one he showed up with. You hunt bad things, my friend. You deserve a badass looking skull on your Crozius, that's for sure. This goes all the way back there. Get another dab of paint. My wet palette. There we go. We're absolutely at that magic phase that I love so much. Everything looks terrible because it's all single coat, all thick base colors. Like, it's neat that it's painted out and you can start seeing some of the detail, but ooh, it's excruciating looking at your work when it's all just sort of clump city. All right, that one will get another pass on it to thicken it up. I think my iron rack stuff, those prayer strip things, can get another pass right now. Yoink. Just dab that on here. A little water, thin it out a little bit. 2 thin coats coming right up. The end of my brush looking decent. That's pretty thin. Immediately that just fills in all the woes. Nothing like 2 thin coats. A little thicker, a little bit, baby amount thicker. Instant gratification. Back side of them, 2 thin coats, perfect. Alrighty. Back side over here, yeah, you need it. You need it. That's good stuff. Alright, that is pretty good. Let him sit for a moment. Take a decent look around him. See if there's any spots really concerned about. I think I'm doing an okay job with him. It might be Metallica time. Yeah, this guy's got a little life left in him. Not a ton. He is a little bit hooked, this brush. I'm going to give this 1 second to dry though, because that was a pretty wet coat on both parts, and I need a little bit of space. Cloak is brown. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe I should. Maybe I really should dry brush it. Dry brush it in something very. Because look at the model. I'm carrying him very carefully. That would come up a little bit. The edges would come up a little bit. Wondering if I should. Nah, I don't think I'm going to dry brush it. I think I'm just going to use regular old brushing techniques to sort of lighten things up a little. Because it's very, 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 very dark. All right, I'm going to try to tackle this brown stuff. Because it's going to be challenging. I want to get to it. Dab on my palette. I can do that reasonably close to some of my lighter stuff. I'll water this down like crazy. I'm fine with this taking a couple of coats. Actually, before I even get to that brown, I should do a little bit of something lighter just underneath in a couple little spots. That sounds like a good plan. So, I'm pick this guy up. There's a couple little spots, like got little buttonholes there and stuff. I use super tiny brush, not a lot of paint. Sort of get in there. I'm gonna go over this in brown. Be a little bit lighter. I roll this guy a bit. You do not need much paint. Sort of hit this edge angle. I'll make that pop. Those buttons are all going to be metallic, but this edge, do it sanely. Sanely, I mean not totally wiping the thing like that. Oof, I told you. Yeah, it's starting to look pretty awesome. Ugh, fighting with my own physical ineptitude. I don't have to worry too much about these edge highlights. I'm going over them in brown, but obviously I don't want them spilling all over the place. Water. May just be that there's no paint left on this palette. Get a little bit more of that edge. That dab of water off of you. I like this model a lot. I'm glad I picked him up. I was due for something a little different. Close that thing up. Grab a little bit more of this. This is Wraithbone. A couple little mishaps in hitting those edge lines, but it's all good. Water, 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 water. Yeah, this guy's neat. All right, just keep going around this edge. Oh, crazy town. Easy there, buddy. Keep that thing close at hand. I'm not used to doing this a lot. I haven't really done a lot of this sort of edging work before, and it is not very good at it. It's neat. It's all about finding the sort of right, by right I mean proper angle to hit stuff with. So using the side of the brush, just a little, not the most intuitive thing I've ever done. I'm not sure if this brush is in all that good shape. I know I keep blaming my tools, but that's how we do it. Also edge this thing a bit after the brown goes on it, so there's no worries there. Oh, and I have that whole scroll there, so it's a good thing I'm here. The entire skull. Oh, you're talking about on the end of the crow's ears? I'm tempted to actually do the face of the skull metallic, if that's what you're talking about. So I've left it for now. So those are more buttons over there. Button, button. Who's got the button? Yeah, I think I'm gonna make that the head of it shiny. Basically, these two posts and then the rest of the skull. I think I'm sort of holding off on that guy for now. Alrighty, let's do this. Paint, fix my glasses, just keep powering through this edge. This is so weird. I love it. Realizing I really have not done a lot of this. I should probably consider doing more. Go over the edge I did. That is interesting. Keep spinning them around, finding new edges. Oh, it's all good. I spend most of my workday thinking about time zones all the time, including the UK. Got some dope people out there. Global business. It really stinks when the time zones change because in Google Calendar bases the time of a meeting on who set the meeting. So if I set a meeting, my clocks change, Google changes it. That doesn't mean that that then becomes the proper new time in Brazil, where they don't change their clocks. At least they don't in any of the provinces that I've got coworkers in. So every 6 months, all these producers, and myself included, are like stuck making new meetings for recurring stuff we absolutely know we need to do. One part of the world changes their clocks and the other doesn't. It's kind of a pain. Get more paint on this guy. A little water too. This is ultra thinned out now. Angle on it. Just pray that I don't glop it. Glorp. All right, so I should hit some other bits here. Got the majority of that cloak down. Try a different brush. This thing's giving me static. I'm not gonna put you to bed yet, brush, but maybe on your last ride. There we go. A little bit thicker there. There we go. Brush has a little bit more life to it, and with just a little bit longer bristles, this might be easier. I've got the edge of his coat. Yeah, that feels a little better. Holding more liquid on it is good. I don't even know if I need to clear that little spot up that I got there. That's going to get metallics on it. This. Ready? Here a little bit. Just sneaking around in places I didn't get before. The edge of this book. Probably hit the pages with this color too. Things are starting to pop out. That up here, which I just mangled, but I'll live with it. Let's get this to roll a little. Roll with it, buddy. In theory at least, go over this in brown. So this will pop up a bit. Hopefully not like crazy. Enough. Oh yeah, I thinned that out way too much. Let's get some actual pigment back in this mix. Just get these pages nice. All right, that's a book. That is a book. Man, I want to put washes on this thing so bad. Everything is so lumpy, crunky. That's the phase we're in. All right. Don't want to get in there and screw everything up by overdoing it. Yeah, New York is a thing. Oh, smush this thing down. I did. I did. I think I'm putting too much pressure. Tough to tell. This halo looks like I smushed it down a little bit. I gotta be careful with that. I think I probably did. Feels like a slow smushing. Break off on me, buddy? Nope, I think it just dried there. All right. Sweet. Good to know. All right, so he's got some edges done. Ah, yes. Still got these two bags on the back. Also going to be all browned up. Those edges. My absolute childish painting skills. There we go. All right, now I got to find what brown I'm going to do that cloak in, that leather. That's a little scary. Thankfully it's brown, so I can go over it a couple times. What I want to do is find a spot that I can sort of test with. I think snake bite leather is probably on the light side, but it may be made for like going on this darker stuff. Might be. I'll check my other station over here. One fang brown, 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 brown. It is brown. All right. So I shouldn't have to worry too much. But snakebite leather and Sigor brown are kind of my options here. Go skeleton horde. Skeleton horde. Like brown leather? That might be the craziest thing I've ever heard. Might not be. Terran grime. Where's my skeleton horde? Horde, skeleton horde. All my friends love skeleton horde. Might be over in the other station. Or nope, Berserker Bloodshade. Grime. Oh no, not for the bone. For the actual cloak to make it look like brown leather or brown leather. No, the bones on here and there will probably get skeleton horde, which I should find. It's around here somewhere. It is one of my go-tos. If I don't find it, I'll just use Seraphim Sepia. Skeleton horde. Of course I have skeleton horde. Alright, so as just a test, I'm gonna pick a spot. I'm going to pick this book. I'm going to try Sigor brown on it. think you're probably right. Think you're probably right. It's going over black. I'm a little mildly concerned. Of just how brown things will get. Alright, so tough to tell with the camera, but I can see what kind of brown that is. I feel pretty alright about it. I'm going to use this. Oh, no, I am going to experiment. I'm going to wash this off the brush. That was Cygor, which is nice and dark. And then I will do snakebite leather on the other two little bags that are back here. Snakebite's a little bit lighter, and I'm pretty sure the snakebite is absolutely going to be what I use on the leather cloak. But just to see ahead of time, it looks. It's pretty nice. That white underneath does show through pretty shockingly, but I think once I get down to it, it'll look fine. Tough call. You know what? I am going to use snakebite leather, and then what I might do is a little bit of wash of Cygor brown and the little edges in places. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just brown this guy up. Those edges screaming through right now. I probably should have used a brown on those, not something so light, but be what it be, homie. Yeah, I'm sort of in it now. It was tempting. What I think I'm going to do is at the end, I want the recessed parts to be pretty dark. I think in the end what I'm going to do is dry brush it with probably something dusty and light like Tyrant Skull. See how that treats it. And I do have a feeling I'm going to go back to Cygor Brown, like around some of the recessed parts, maybe some of the edges. The edges are pretty light. It's not a bad thing. But a little more coverage would probably be good. I'm leaning in on this stuff pretty heavily. It's good though. And the nice thing is about it being black on the back side of it underneath is that when this soaks in, it'll still have a bunch of like rich black behind it. It'll be dark. It will be dark. All right. You can sort of see with the Cygor already starting to dry a little bit. That is edged pretty heavily. All right. It's not bad. It may not be dark enough on the edges. I think those are the only places that I'm really going to hit it with something a little bit more. But if the edges weren't light enough, there's not much you can do to fix that after the fact. I mean, there is. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. That's the thing with these lights and cameras is that you can't see exactly what I'm seeing. And the other thing is like contrast on black. It really needs to like cure and soak in a bit to really get a sense of it. I mean, all paints do, but this is very intentionally some dark work here. Brown on black. A little bit more over here. Just get you gloppy. And we'll stand them up. Make sure I get all those little spots here. You know what? It is soaking in. It is definitely that edge. Looking better than it did a few minutes ago. As I was saying, it's got to cure in a lot. A lot of this is about the paint soaking in and really changing everything. I can go a little heavy-handed here because those are, once again, those are going to be metallics right there. So those are going to get their own scrub-a-dub. It is brownish. And not overtly so, which is good. While I've got this brush up, I am going to skeleton horde. I'll skeleton horde up the horns on this. And probably see how many places I have to hold this. I may need to let this guy sit and dry for a couple minutes. He's damp all over. I'm getting there. You can see the texture on that skull coming out nicely. Yeah, buddy, I'm gonna set you down over here for a bit. I'm just gonna hit the other spots with some Seraphim Sepia. The scroll work and the skulls and the maybe the face bone. So this will just be like just a bit. Take the edge off a little. I just realized I didn't hit the top part of his cloak. Just to get that bone looking stuff a little aged. If I do need to highlight it again with a little bit of super white, I can do that. This wash is going to bring out some texture that wasn't popping before. Alright. So, back to snakebite leather. The top part of this coat. When I get through all of this brown, then he can sit for a little bit. Ponder. He can chill out. There, doesn't really strap up over the top, which is convenient. It is weird that he wears this over his armor, but that's your business, buddy. I am not a critic. Here. Some back there. All right, I'm going to set this guy down for a couple minutes in front of my fan. And we'll see how that turns out. I am going to let that cure in. My next steps will be metallics. So I'm going to use Sycorax bronze on most of the metallic stuff. So this is going to be this and lead belcher, maybe lead belcher. I have to have another metallic around here somewhere. Not astro granite, I know that. Yes, I should probably reorganize my paints before every session, but I don't have that much time. Or more accurately, it's used for other things. So, sections of the Crozius, the halo, little details down here, the ends of these prayer strips, the embossed raised parts of, yeah, that's hella expensive. New York is pricey. So we'll let the wind blow for a bit. That thing will dry up quickly. Contrast paint does go pretty fast, but a little bit of time in front of the fan is a good thing. Close up this wraith bone. Oh, stretch my neck out a bit. It has been a week. A lot of carrying little kids around, and I'm old and beat up. And boo hoo hoo. All right, let's see if this guy's a little bit better. All right, so he's not perfectly dry, but he's dry enough to work with. Still a little damp there, but if I'm careful about where I'm hanging on to him, I'll be fine. Tough to make out the brown. That is faux show. See if I can hold this guy. I mean, it's brown. It's leather. I'm sorry, I'm killing you guys. Eyes are never going to forgive me. Oh, I do have a little spot that I need to Seraphim Sepia again. Actually, I'll skeleton hoard it. And we will move on to metallics. Get this a dab. That scrollish bit. Just a light amount on the white pages of the book. I will get back to those later with Seraphim Sepia as well. All right, metallic time. Easiest things for me to hit right now are the rest of the skull on the Crozius. It's updated, much cooler Crozius. I'm gonna hit that. A couple little lines on the rest of the Crozius. His halo. Yeah, his halo. And then there's little details like the center of the chest, some of these little icon bits here. So we've got some stuff to do. I'm liking this. What is it called? Sycorax bronze. It's pretty neat. Got a very like makeup look to it. Really nice shine to it. Starting to come out of my shell in terms of not using warp lock bronze for every last thing. Just a bit of an adjustment, but fun. All right. So gotta hold them top and bottom. And carefully. I don't think I'm going to get to that halo. I think that's going to be the clincher. That halo is kind of a necessary part of my ability to hold this model at all. So what I like about this bronze is that it's light. It's got room for a darker wash. When you use warp lock bronze, it's like, and I like it for its own reason, but it's like super dark and you're kind of done. Yeah, getting food in New York, yeah, not cheap either. I mean, just getting there is one thing, and being there is another. I like New York though. I didn't when I was a lot younger. More of a Boston person. Still more of a Boston person, but New York was a little too busy for me, and then I went a couple times and got into the flow of it. I enjoyed myself. I watched the marathon there once. That was cool, especially with how the race pattern is laid out. It was basically like how did it go? It's like came in from Long Island, and up, back around. Like it does this S sort of thing, very tall S. And so if you're in a certain spot, you can sort of run a couple blocks, see some people at some part of the race, run a couple blocks, just scurry, see a different part of the race, just see a ton of different angles of it. Boston is closer to me by far. By far. I used to live in not Boston proper, but in one of the boroughs. Essentially, I lived in Allston and Brighton for a while. Lived in Somerville for a while. Worked in Boston. Speaking of marathons, one of the places I worked was right outside where the Boston Marathon finish line is. It was awkward for a while. All right, so you can see the skull's nice and shiny, 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 shiny. I'll work on this icon stuff here. I do still like Boston a lot. It is a very cool city. I got a lot of roots there. Just gently going over these things. This icon needs to be completely painted. Just a little bit of this bronze on it at the edges would be nice. Or you could just go ham. Knocking this one brush off of my desk. Perilous, perilous work. But Boston's also pretty expensive. Not as bad as New York, not as bad as San Francisco. It is pricey. All right, that bit of chain up there is going to get some sort of silver to it, so I don't need to hit that guy up yet. Get these edges nicely. I've got some buckle work. Buckles are always fun. My hooked brush. This guy. Around, maybe another couple little buckles back here. Yeah, Boston's not too bad. Boston's about, with traffic, and obviously depending on where in Boston, it's about an hour from me right now. I basically spent most of my career working in the Boston metro area. And then when you didn't have to live in a city to do it, well, even when you did, a lot of the jobs around here tend to be in the suburbs also. So I eventually was working at a place called Needham, which is outside of Boston. And that's when I moved into this house. And then it was still kind of like an hour commute because there's a lot of traffic to get to that job in Needham. And then everything went remote. I didn't have to drive anymore. And I worked for a company in Brazil. And I did that for a while. And now the company that I work in now technically doesn't even have an office. Their mail gets sent to Las Vegas. Just hit this edge a little. That looks pretty. That does look pretty. I like you, Sycorax Bronze. Let me use more of you. It's definitely good with black. Got some little spiky bits. Or may have heavy-handed that a little bit. Yeah, I did. That looks like garbage, but we're fine. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Get in there. Belt's gonna need something darker, but that's fine. I can get this icon on his chest. Go. And ooh, the pauldrons are edged in this. I'm absolutely, you know what? I'm totally squishing this halo down. That's how I'm holding the guy. It is absolutely how I'm holding him. Man, it is like sitting over his head flat now. All right. Well, it be what it be, buddy. Got a tiny brush here. His last ride. Yeah, I love the Boston area. It's nice. People are weird, but a heck of a lot of fun. Like most cities. Funny accents, but good folks. I screwed that up a little bit, but we'll just wipe. Try it again. Just get back in here a little. I think this skull I'm going to do an all bronze on here because it's more of an emblem than a skull itself, and I think it'll look cool that way. Guy will get a wash eventually. There. Make this all shiny too. Yeah, I was definitely a city boy for a solid decade or so. I liked it a lot. It's really nice to just be able to walk out your door and have stuff to do. I actually sleep better with a lot of direct noise outside. Like sirens and stuff actually help me sleep. So it was cool. It was cool. Then I wanted to live in the burbs because I got old and I wanted to do hobbies and have space for things. So I made the transition. Yeah, it's a doozy. Boston, definitely, definitely expensive, but yeah, it's not as bad as New York. Man, I might break this thing off and redo it. Feels like it's way south. Oh, I'm not breaking anything. What I'm gonna do is cope like an adult, not pout about it. That's what I'll do. All right, a little bit of bronze around these little spiked ringy things that weigh these down. Sort of open buckles. Get those. Got a charm on his gun. Oh, he's got the eagle on his gun too that I gotta hit. All the stuff we're finding now as we get close to the, I don't want to say close to the end, but metallics phase then generally is like, oh, look at all these little neat details. It's a good phase. The underside of this pauldron. So yeah, he's starting to look cool. Get this buckle. There you go, buckle, buckle. I have this other very clean pauldron to hit. Devastatingly hooked brush. I'm so glad I don't have an image to uphold. bum with a brush. People can't stop me. Alrighty. Just got water on that. Alright. Not bad. Curious how they handle what they do. Alright. I always hit the underside of the edge of the pauldron with some metallics, and I was kind of curious. This guy's hand's way up there. Most Death Guard don't really raise their hands this much. They're a little bit more somber. Hands at their sides kind of thing going. I always wondered how the Clean Boys did this. And he's got that eagle icon right there. Getting to the back of him is going to be a little bit of a pain, but that's one of the nice things about having a hooked brush. You can sort of sneak around a hot corner. Always look on the bright side, right? He's just got tons of gold shiny deets. Details, details, details. Alright, we're hitting this halo. I've smushed it enough at this point. I just feel bad about it and just want to get it done. It looks terrible. It is so gangster lean forward. Oh well. That's what you get. You poor guy. The dab of solid paint. Crowny bits are always interesting to hit. Between there. Get around those spikes. Spikes, I have a lot of experience with. Death Guard love their spikes. There we go. He's looking proper. So he still hasn't gotten any washes yet, which is kind of crazy to me that I've survived painting this guy this long without buckling under the childish desire to just wash him up. Actually, no, he's gotten washes on whites. That is true, but I haven't hit the red yet. Metallic stuff will get washed. Still plenty of space for neat stuff to erupt out of here. Okay. We're properly adorned with a halo. Now we're going to switch to our more standard metally metal, which is Runefang Steel. Runefang Steel. Give this guy a shake. I'll be using this in a lot of little spots. Basically any edging that didn't get Sycorax will get this. You probably cannot tell, but it absolutely looks like brown leather now. It may be a little light. It might be, and I don't think it'll be in a way that that a second coat will cut it. But I'm happier that it's light because I think what I'm going to do is sort of like eke in here some of the dark spots. Something darker, and then a little bit of dry brushing to make things solid. Alrighty. And I can happily hold him by the Crozius at this point pretty safely, which is nice. Get you by the Crozius, son. Decent amount of paint on my palette. Scooch some of it off. Tiniest dab of water just to smooth this stuff out. It's a little bit thick in the pot. And once again, move on to super tiny bits and being careful. That halo is going to need another pass for sure. This pommel. We'll get these sort of, I think these are intakes. I don't know what they are. They're getting metallized. This paint runs really smooth, which is nice. Just kind of dab things a little bit, and it gets all in there. Of course, that can be a little dangerous if you're sloppy, like I am. But fun. All right. Now, spot there that I missed. What else to hit? So we got some armor edges. That would be really nice to get shiny, and he's got some little bolts. I'm just gonna barely hit those guys. He's got this little chain around his wrist. That. Very carefully. Maybe not grab that halo anymore. Alrighty. Put the little chainy bits down here. Super careful around this. All you gotta do is just hit that top edge of it just to bring it up. That's it. Does not take a lot to make that shiny. It does take a little bit more than that though. There we go. All right, now we're just looking for like buckles, posts, raised edges. I think the main concern I have for this model right now. Ooh, I need to get the Sycorax back for those skulls. The main concern that I have for this model right now is this backpack looking pretty just blank and open. They've edged theirs nicely. I'm going to try to do the same. I hit this vent, this full vent back here. This entire piece just to lighten it up. We got to break up the monotony here a bit. a start. It is not a finish. All right, I'm going to try to get the edge of these venti things. Oh, this brush is so jacked. Come on, buddy. Just carry me through a little further. Get the insides of these. Edge and the insides. All right, that's a little bit helpful. Get the edge around here. Just so that everything isn't pure black. Some stuff stand out. Little gewgaws here, those can get a little touch. Little bits. They're pretty comfortable little bits though. These are not tough to paint. They're tough to paint well, but the bar is pretty reasonable. All right, and then everybody and their uncle always hits the edge of that circular thing. It's even how they display how their paints are going to look on the Citadel site, so I might as well do that too. Just a dab. I don't know how anyone does this crap. It's insane. Four little dots, and then just try to touch this edge. Oh, or just ring it. That is, for the record, not how they do it. That's how I do it. Heavy-handed. Barely touch that thing. Oh, you people are insane how you do this. I love it. This is not fun. Oof. Woof. All right, so maybe I'll just get inside these little guys here and get a little brush on there. Almost dry brushing it. There you go. All right. Yeah, those rivets are tough, dude. I'm taking a pretty hefty measure of risk even approaching them. They're just so tiny. I feel you. All right. So, I said I had to go back and hit some Sycorax for a couple little skulls. Thankfully bigger than those rivets. We'll knock that out. Yeah, those tiny little rivets are just brutal. Absolutely brutal. The skulls I'm talking about are these little button skulls here. Let's see if I can get this aimed in the right way. Just tapping those skulls a couple times and letting the bristles of the brush sort of scooch on it. Too much, but it's fine. They are correct now. Yeah, it's so rough, man. Rough neck. Alrighty. A little bit more in here because it's super visible. Might as well shoot that second coat, buddy. Got the back of that. I didn't get this thing. We're at that phase, that other phase where I find all the stuff I didn't actually hit. I was thinking about other stuff. There we go. But you didn't get the back of this one. Not so well. I got it a little bit. Gets another coat. This icon, the eagle that I said I was going to hit 3 or 4 times, you are finally getting painted, buddy. Your ship has come in. From another angle. All right, that's cool. What else did I whiff on? I'm going back to the regular Runefang steel for a couple things. There's some hardware on the gun. There's breathing tubes. And after I get that stuff. Yeah, whatever swearing is versus not across the pond is also a very funny subject. If it's the C word, you probably want to avoid it for the children. But yeah, I don't really care. It's late. You can say whatever you want, man. Get an R rating for this channel. Nice old people painting stuff. Get me locked up by the sensors. Trigger. Base of that clip. Not that he couldn't have a red clip, but he doesn't. YouTube doesn't do anything about what's live. They don't care. If it's not in the first few seconds and it doesn't pop up on subtitles or whatever, I probably just wouldn't. I don't think they care. I don't think it's certainly not going to affect me. My channel's tiny. I like freedom of speech. All right. So now, I know this is silver. I'm just going to hit some edge highlights. Believe it or not, I think I'm actually going to wash what is black in black. I know that sounds a little wild. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's how you're supposed to do things. It sounds weird to me because I've never done it. Edge of this thing. That'd be pretty hilarious, Dan, if you got me thrown off of YouTube. Controversial channel. Nerd paints minifigs. Epic cursing gets him thrown out. I think I screwed that up, but that's cool. Yeah, these will be a little different, but that's cool. This skull. These little rivets. Oh, terribly. This is all metal hardware on here. Complain to the serfs. All right, flip this guy over. See if there's any other little rivets and things that I missed, and then I'll start washing this dude up. That's garbage. This edge a little. Just a bit. His other arm. This is terrifying. Terrifying but doable, like most things in life. Edge, get a little bit more paint on this guy. Oh, Bullocks is fine. Bullocks is absolutely fine. Gordon Ramsay says that constantly on every show that's on in the United States. Alright, so he's got some tubing. It'll look good with a little wash on it. Try not to get the whole face of it. Yeah, there we go. It's almost like dry brushing. Don't need to put a ton of pressure on it. Just get a dab or so. Okay. I'm thinking that any extra detail work I do is going to come after the next couple steps of getting some wash on this guy. Yeah, Plonker I don't think I've ever even heard. Bullocks is considered deeply British. And I don't know, it's kind of like a free pass in the United States. It doesn't feel vulgar because it's British. Guess, I don't know. But then you drop the C word and it's like, whoa. All right, let's get ready to do some washes. If I remember correct, no, that's not a wash. That's simple burgundy. All right, Berserker Bloodshade, pretty dark stuff. Pretty dark. And I desperately want to get some detail going on the handle of that Crozius looks like garbage. And that's fine right now because it hasn't had a wash. Question is, will Berserker Bloodshade be enough to get it looking where I'm happy? It might, but it might not. It may need a little dab of black in there as well. It's pretty dark stuff. Is it dark enough? I think not. Ah, plonker means insult, but playful way. That does sound like a playful word. I can get down with that. All right. So I'm just adding a drop of black near on my palette where the Berserker Bloodshade is, so that every once in a while I can just take the brush and whoop, scoop a little bit in. I'm not trying to turn this to black-red, but it wasn't quite doing enough. So I can just darken it a little bit. There we go. Yeah, now you're darkening up nicely, and the main thing is I can see the texture popping now. That's the big thing. All right, and on this gun, should have the same effect. Yeah, I can see the lines just like screaming out now, which is good. Good stuff. That's what we want. And I can use that right over. I'm not going to hit it over the bronze part, but it'll absolutely be fine over the shiny metal. In fact, that's just going to be, needs more black. That's the grim. Not grim light. Grim dark. Yeah, those look nice and crimsony. I'm going to hit that little piece of wax. Yeah, that's a big improvement. Man, once the washes come out, everything starts looking dope. Basically, I'm just going to use some lightly thinned out black wash on my metallics just so that the teeth pop nicely, the eyeballs do, and so that it just, I guess it's not really tarnished, but it takes some of the shine out. You don't want it to be too shiny. These guys are, I didn't ultramarine his arm, so he's not that clean. Just a little dab on each one of these skulls. Just get the metal to step down a little bit, get some of those details in. I'm going to test this theory of black wash on black paint right now on that guy's front leg, and we'll see how it looks. But I do think I'm actually going to wash this dude in black. Black is not this immutable thing. Black matters. All right, so let's get in here with some more of this. Get over that little shiny silver piece. These tubes will look a little bit more like they've been greased up. In fact, this guy's getting some on his head right now. Whoa. I need a couple more droplets. You plonker. That makes sense. Get in there in this hood. I realize I'm covering this up with my finger while I do that. We're getting into the tough angles section of the night. All right, so let's see. This chain needs to be dark. It'll still shine through. I'm not going to hit everything with this, but a good chunk of this bright silvery stuff just needs to get taken down a notch. Think about what it's done. Always around gas vents. Makes them look used. And then it also just brings out those vents. I can see the actual vents in between now. The paint is cured in. I am washing this whole thing. That halo's definitely getting. Ooh, I'll add a little bit of red into the black for that. That'll be nice. We don't want this halo to be super shiny. This guy works for a living. He gets out there. He's in the field. Got his respirator mask on. The air's not clean. There's smoke everywhere. The guy's doing work. He's not a plonker, however. That's for sure. So normally on my death guard, I would just like cover every square inch of metal to darken it down. But I am going to leave some stuff relatively untouched metallics wise. And the halo is just a huge piece, so that's kind of it's a little too shiny without it. But like this icon stuff, the stuff that he might like as a soldier polish in between battles, things like that. I'm just gonna leave it bright. I think it'll be nice. Black wash on black paint. All right, so look at this guy. He is coming together. Just have to sit him down right like that so y'all can see him. I mean, well, I'm not going for exactly what's on the box. It's pretty close to what's on the box. I'm digging him. He may not need too much more stuff. Add that in there a little bit. I'm going to take like a minute here and just stretch my neck out. Have a sip of tea. All right. So one of the things I did say I was going to do eventually, and it's dry enough on here, I'm going to take some Cygor Brown and hit a few more spots on the cloak, just so that it's not all, I mean, it's contrast paint, but everything is so smooth on that leather cloak that you don't get It's not one of those cloaks that's like rippled. I want to get a little bit of shadow in there. So we'll do just that. All right, Cygor. Let's see what you're made of. I also want to hit that gun holster. It's going to look better with Cygor. So that it actually stands out a little bit. Oof, that's a lot. Stands out a little bit from the cloak. Define a little bit. All right. So as I'm looking at this, I can sort of see shadow play. Like this section right here, a little darker. And this is just contrast paint. I'm not going super heavy on it. Go in there a little bit. And hit the edges. Just to sort of take down that white that's underneath a little bit. Doesn't need a ton of it. Does not need a ton of it. Let's hit all those edges a little bit. It just gives it a slightly different look. Yeah, get some of this down on my palette rather than just going directly into the pot like a savage. And this is a divot in here, so I'll get a little splotch in there. Across that edge. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but I'm doing it. Only Fools and Horses. It takes place in London. And there is an episode. Ah, nice. Going around here. Dried up quick. There wasn't a lot on there. Blink, blink. Just get these nice edges here. Such a goon. Love it. You have such a good sense of humor. I'm a big fan of toilet humor. I think I used a lot of toilet humor in my Death Guard lore first video. It's kind of unavoidable. The Death Guard. Just a bunch of poopy stuff. Alright, so we've gone around the edges, just a light stroke around there. The hope is that as this dries, I'm probably going to get in here a little bit. In there a little bit. It doesn't need to be thick. I'm not glomming on the contrast here. The hope is that when I get around to dry brushing, just slightly different color in a few spots. Maybe I'm just trying to make it seem a little more organic. It appears to be working, so, and it's not super thick. I have too much ambient light going. The things I worry about. Oh, I'm also going to hit these little pouches. Get them a little darkened up. There you go, guys. So by and large, this guy's in pretty decent shape. I might actually see if his base is dry and just plop him right on there. And for whatever detail at work I do, wouldn't actually have to hold him by the model anymore. Look at that. Bum. Let's see how this base is. Oh yeah. That's heck of dry. And it's absolutely a reasonable facsimile of that base. So let's do this. Let's get some crazy glue on this guy's feet. I don't know how well he's going to stick down on top of grass, but we're going to find out. We are going to find out. Get a good amount of crazy glue on there. There we go. That is more than enough to soak through the grass. And we'll flip them up. And squish them on. Give them a little bit of pressure, just in case that basing material is still a little soft. So we can sort of squeeze in there a bit. And in theory he's already stuck. That guy doesn't look half bad. There's still a couple more things I want to do to him. I think he will need a little bit of a dry brush in a few spots. Just to be safe. But I'm glad that it finally became apparent to me that he's got that sort of waist cloak thing on over his armor, that it is leather. Not that easy to tell, but once you get into it, once you really start staring there, it's like it's a pretty cool part of that outfit. War gear, I guess the proper term is. See if there's anything else that I can safely do. I think the only things I really need to do is just add a little bit more. Yeah, no, definitely super glue is the jam. I bought up a bunch of super glue, like as my stuff sort of fell apart. My last super glue bottle wouldn't hold itself together anymore. I was like, just give me a 6-pack of this. I don't want to worry about it anymore. We can get this shine down there. Yes, I'm putting black wash on a purely black pauldron. That is the life we're living now. The thing is, that wash still gets into the edges and still affects how light hits stuff. Just how that works. And I'm going to be super cavalier and act like this guy's already stuck with his crazy glue. I'm kind of a savage. Super glue is a pain in the ass, but I love it. I get my fingers stuck together with it. It's fine. It's fast and it's solid. People say you can put your stuff in the freezer and it'll allow you to break off crazy glue bits, which I gotta worry about because if I put my models in my car in the winter, it definitely gets like well below freezing here, but I don't think I'll do that much. I don't think I would leave my models in my car. That would be kind of no bueno. All right. Moment of truth. Moment of truth. Maybe do a little tad bit of dry brushing. And I would need a tiny little guy of a dry brush. Maybe even superiorly tiny. This guy's probably tiny enough. Get you a dab, whatever you're using. A little dab of water on it. Get the water deep into the bristles. Good. I'm glad it bothers you. Yeah, they painted it. His surf keeps it painted. I'll come up with a lower reason for it someday. All right, so anything coming off there? Good. Barely anything. Oh, or a lot. So I thought. Oh man, I just mugged that thing. That was awesome. Good job, buddy. Good job. I thought it was barely anything on there. All right. Where did that paint come from? That's because I'm going on something so dark. You know what? I don't even think I need it. I think what I actually did with that side gore is probably enough. It is. It's enough. That was a good lesson. Like, yo, dog, let me just dry brush this thing. How about you don't? How about you be happy with what you got? So yeah, he looks cool. I am gonna finally just give him a little bit of breathing room to dry up. There's a couple more details I would throw on him, but I mean, I started with him just primed today, and it's come a long way. Get him up a little closer to the lights, and out of focus, of course. Get him in focus. Will he actually focus here? He might be too close to focus. Right now, I'm just messing with you people. There you go. That's about as good as that's going to get. Scooch the light over. Looking cool. He's got a book. He likes to read. All right. So, set him aside for now. See what time it is. It's 11. I think I'm going to call it. My hands are shaky enough where I don't want to build this bloat drone. But I will leave him out to remind me that he's coming soon. And I'll leave it out there because when I get up in the morning, yeah, it's different to the art. I got to get all my Death Guard paints back out for this guy next. I think this guy will be next, unless your stuff shows up, Dane, unless the Bugman shows up. But regardless, I need my Death Guard stuff too. So anyhow, it's been fun. Excited that we did great progress on this guy. I still have to finish that diorama. But that's basically just getting the side pieces in and everything glued up there. So anyway, this guy will be in there soon. Thanks a bunch. Hope you have a great night, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.